Hey everybody, welcome back to Church Talk, where we talk about everything involving the local church. My name is Rob, and today we're going to be talking about what do you do if you need more channels in your soundboard, but you don't have the budget to replace it. All right, today we're talking about soundboards, and if you don't have the budget to upgrade, but you're needing more channels in your board, what do you do? I have a couple of different ideas for you. Number one, stick around for number two, because I think it's probably the better option. But number one, if you say, for instance, you have a drummer coming in and you've never had drums in your sound system, you don't have channels for the drums, what can you do? How can you situate everything? I think the number one thing that a lot of pastors and a lot of churches will want to do is shove the drum set over to the side, put it in a corner somewhere, and then complain about how it sounds. When really they've created a bigger problem with that already loud instrument by putting it in the corner, because now you've created a natural amplifier or a megaphone for that sound to be broadcasted across the church in an uncontrolled way. So don't put it in the corner. I know a lot of pastors will be like, I don't want the drums in the center of the stage, but there's going to have to be some trade-offs here. If you want a good sound out of a natural drum set without it going through your sound system, it really does need to be in the center, because that's where the sound's being produced, and you want that sound to travel out evenly across the congregation. If you put it on one side, even if it's not in the corner, the people on that side are going to hear only drums. They're not going to hear anything else. And the people on the other side, they may be hearing other things, that maybe not the drums so much, or maybe they're still hearing the drums if your space is small. So if you place them in the center, then you're going to get the best acoustic sound out of that drum set that you can. And then what I would recommend, even with that, is if you would place your if you get an amplifier, or have your bass player play through an amp and your electric guitarist play through an amp, and you place them right beside of the drums on each side, then pretty much you have your main sounds coming from right there in the center of the stage. Now your sound tech, he's going to be a little bit busy, and you've got to give the guitarist and bass players, you guys will have to work with your sound tech on how loud it needs to be. He needs to be able to set your amp at the level, the volume level, and if it's going to take away from your tone or whatever, then you guys need to work that out and find out what you need to do. But your tech still needs to have that ability to adjust the volume levels. So you may be running around, from the back to the front to adjust those levels, and that's going to be difficult and going to be hard, but you can do it. So it's kind of like going back to the old days, to where all the band is producing all their sound from the stage, and your sound tech is pretty much your mix anyway is just mixing vocals. So basically that's kind of what you would have. Maybe your keyboard would go through the system, maybe acoustic guitar as well, but you can have acoustic amp as well there. But those main instruments that's creating all the sound would be created from the center of the platform and kind of angled outward, so that way those loud instruments aren't going through your mix. And you can buy some drumsticks that can reduce the volume. Now, some guys will say, I don't really like those, but if they work, then you probably should use them, because I've heard people say, you need to play the room, play dynamically, and play the room. Well, sometimes you can't play dynamically while playing the room. It's like, to get the sound that you want, you kind of have to hit the head kind of hard. And when you do that, that creates a lot of noise. But the lighter your stick, the less noise. Even though you're hitting just as hard as you need to, you can still play them the way you want. But hopefully those lighter sticks, and I'll put a link in the description of the ones that I've seen. I've never used any. We've never used any personally. But I've heard them, I've seen them, and they're supposed to work pretty good. So I would try those out as well if you're needing that control. The other thing that I was talking about, which is the better method, is say, for instance, you have same situation. You have a drummer comes in, you've never had a drum set in your church, and now you need to add 5, 6, 7 channels to your board, and you don't have that. Maybe you already have a electric guitarist that's going through an amp as well, and you're like, I would like to get everything in the soundboard, but I just can't do it. I don't have enough channels. We're not able to upgrade our system and everything that is within our budget. It's the same thing as what we already have. That's good news. That's great, because you can actually find all day long on Facebook Marketplace or on eBay or Reverb or any place you want to go to and find used analog boards that are good quality. So when I say something inexpensive or cheap, I don't mean cheap in quality, I mean cheap in price. You can find some good quality stuff that's just older, or it's an analog board and someone upgraded to digital, and you can use that older equipment. Buy that, put it alongside your existing, and use it as a submix. So you can do that one of two different ways. If all you need is the drums only in your board, you can sub everything. Everything from your drum set will go into that board, and you can keep it at the drum set if you need, and then just run one output channel into your main mixer. Or if you have the availability to do this, and I'll put I'll put a diagram up on the screen here, but if you could put both of them side by side, and then to do this you would need a 32 channel snake or another 16 channel snake, or whatever the channels are that you have on your board. If it's a 16 channel and you 2 16 channels, or a 24 and a 12, or you name it, whatever it is, you would need that many channels in a snake as well if you're going to put both of them back on at your sound console desk of your church. But if you do that, then that gives your sound tech a complete control over everything. It will allow you to be able to enclose your drum set and keep that noise level down, get everything into your system. And you would do the same thing that I just said, with the exception of, in this case, I would bring maybe all of your instruments into one board, all of your vocals into the other board, and choose which one you want to be your main. So say, for instance, your existing sitting on your left side would be your existing board, would be your main board. So your outputs on that would be going to your amp or speakers or however you're set up. But then the output on your other board, you could take your main left and right output and take it into, say, channel, if you have a 16 channel board, take it into 15 and 16, and then clamp those two channels together or tape them together or whatever, so that you have a stereo setup from one board to the other. So you may not need a stereo setup. You could get by with just a mono, but when you bring it over stereo, then basically you're linking those two boards together, so that when you control that one fader, or actually the two faders that are linked together, when you control that, you're controlling everything from that second board as an overall volume. So that could pretty much be like your entire band, and then you have all your vocals and all your vocal mics, your pastor speaking mic, and all those type of things on your other board or your main board. So guys, those are the two methods that I would suggest. Number one, the placement. Number two, submixing. You can do that really, really cheap nowadays. Get by with not actually doing an upgrade, but just adding to. So guys, I hope this video was helpful to you. If this is the type of content that you like, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with somebody that you think maybe they need some ideas on expanding their existing system. They don't want to do an upgrade, but they do have a little bit of budget to work with. Let them know about this idea and see if it's something that will work for them, or maybe it'll work for you. And I'll see you guys next time on Church Talk. God bless.